Welcome back to the InherAlchemist TV. In today's video, surprise, this has nothing to do with me gathering anybody, but what I wanted to do was use the negativity bias to attract viewers to this video. For some reason, people just love negativity, right? But we're going to turn that into our advantage. So I want to talk a little bit about the upcoming conversation that I'm going to be having about what is a millimeter. I want to talk about the intentions and the objective of that conversation. So first off, let me give you a overview of the climate. So I've been watching. I started to make tarot videos when I first got here, right? I wasn't watching the show at all. I hadn't watched the show, didn't know anything about it. I was going in completely blind. Now, through the comment section, I began to get context. Now, with any tarot reading, even when I do private readings, it's up to the client on whether or not they want to provide details, or you just want to go in blind and see what fate has to say, so to speak, or see what the divine has to tell you, or what messages want to come out. You can look at the reviews in my Etsy shop and you can understand that there's different types of people. Some who want to give you background information and some who don't. But when you do the tarot reading, it is up to the person that the reading is about to provide context, right? Obviously, these are celebrities, quote unquote, and so they're not going to provide the context. So you, the viewers, have provided context based on what you have been seeing. So from that, I'm able to kind of like piece, okay, well, according to this context, maybe this is the meaning in this situation, right? So I want to explain that because people are like feeling like, oh, you're listening to people and using their, no, I'm not. I'm using the context that the viewers are providing to better align the tarot reading for entertainment purposes and put the reading in the right perspective. I did that for a while. Then I said, you know what? It's starting to be a little bit contradictory. What these people are saying is not making sense, especially because I started to watch the clips on OWN. And honestly, I just wasn't seeing what you guys were seeing. So I decided to invest some time because I was idle. I was away from home. And I started watching seasons 1 through 3. That's as far as I got. And I came up with my own conclusions, watching everything in reverse, from what's the outcome is now and where we are to where it started and how we got there. Now, the community wall is me live tweeting sometimes, kind of, right? Or doing commentary on what I'm viewing in the specific moment, or what I'm coming to based on a scene of the moment. It could be present tense, it could be past tense, it could be whatever. It's all relevant. Now, I do not talk off the side of my ass. Anything I say can be justified and corroborated with my conclusion. I can explain what it is, right? And I try to do my best to do so. So, having said that, you guys have recently seen me come up with some conclusions about Melody and Martell and how this situation played out. And a lot of those conclusions had to do with me talking about gender war topics. And I want to tell you guys about the climate back at that time. And the reason is because during the gender war, I was actually a content creator who made content warning people against this machine that was being created. The gender war was not based on actual people. It was based on media bots and people capitalizing off of COVID when people were shut in. There was a lapse in relationships. People were just going through different things, basically having a lot of mental health breaks. And so ushered in Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels was a machine. Kevin Samuels was a creation, just like Andrew Tate. And what they would do is they would create these digital armies that would disseminate information. And at the time, this information was anti-woman. Now, this content was meant to arouse emotions. It was meant to turn people against each other, because from that emotional state is when you get people to spend money, because at the core of the issue, a lot of people were just lonely and looking for somebody to be with. These opportunities were absent, especially during COVID. People supplement their desires for relationships by going out, socializing with their friends, having a drink, you don't really think about it so much. But when all of those things are taken away, then you start, that loneliness, that feeling starts to become exacerbated. The gender war came to capitalize off of those feelings and emotions that people were going through during COVID. Now, what made it so successful, or looked like it was such a big thing or real, was that they were using not only major platforms like Kevin Samuels, but they were creating small digital channels like Shorts that were breaking up clips and pushing that thing to the algorithm as well. And so at some point, women started to believe that there was this mass narrative going against them. In addition, some of the talking points echoed some of the sentiments of the failed relationships of women. So if men were coming out and saying, yeah, we don't like you because you're not fit and feminine and you're not good enough, and then the bulk of women were having experiences with men that made them feel not good enough, they were feeling like these were legitimate examples of what men think of women. They're not. A lot of them were incels. A real man is going to get with pretty much any woman. Real men, even the good looking ones, they don't have access to women like that. It's not easy for them to get women, get sex. That's not easy for them. Most of them take what they can get. I'm just going to put it to you that way. Now, if you don't realize that about them as a woman, and you let them flip the game on you so that they can get what they want for little to no resistance or free, then that's on you. What I'm telling you is that even the best of men has a hard time getting women. Period. And that's just the way it is. Okay. It doesn't matter your shape. It doesn't matter your size. They're all about the feeling. If it feels good to them, you can get the dick, you can get the money, you can get the ring, you can get whatever it is that you want to get. But you have to know that about them, right? The secret is they don't want you to know that they need you because they don't want to have to fight and wrestle and pay for what they want, right? So it's a big mind fuck. So the women, or the female side of it, had to have been created to further the capitalization off of these gender war topics. It had nothing to do with how men and women were really feeling about each other and how black society was breaking down. It had nothing to do with that, because if you looked at real life, black men were still very much with black women. Not in 100% of the circumstances. Of course, you can find that one or two off corroborating evidence of your own trauma to confirm what the confirmation bias is. You can find that, but as a whole, step outside yourself. As a whole, black men and women are still fucking with each other. That's just the bottom line. So the women side was created to make the equal opposite. When you make the equal opposite, you double the capitalism. You know what I mean? For all parties involved. YouTube is benefiting from the gender war more than any content creator. Now you have networks like OWN, Carlos Reign, Kingdom Reign, whatever this nigga's name is. They are benefiting off of the destruction of black families, black relationships, black marriages more than anybody. And all of these machines were spawned out of the gender war. Now, during that time, they were creating bots. They were creating single narratives, what we call monoliths, right? I'm going to post a video in the comment section, and I want you guys to check it out, and I want you guys to really look at it and see what you're getting out of it. So they were creating like large masses of digital army social media bots. A lot of those bots were not even women. They were just people that were meant to destruct people's platforms and destruct people's minds. A lot of Twitter was creating AI. AI was out way before they started talking about it right now. They were creating fake profiles of women, people, and they were also pushing gender war narratives. And so you had people who were real that were influenced by the mass of these bots. Now you got to understand, women specifically, and human beings in general, have a desire to belong. So to go against the grain in any way, that is a very uncomfortable, unsettling feeling for a lot of people, particularly people with abandonment and rejection issues, right? So they long to be a part of something. And black people, we suffer from that the most because by and large, our father figures are missing from the home. So we have a weak anima, right? An anima is your inner male. The anima is constructed of every experience you ever have of a man, you culminate that into one person, and that becomes your internal perception of what men are and your expression of masculinity as a woman. So if you had a very strong dominating father figure and that was your primary example for manhood, then you are probably a strong dominating woman, right? If you had a father who was a pimp like me, quote unquote, then you probably have more of a finesse to yourself as a woman, right? So the way you express yourself, if you express yourself at all, is based on the whole of the examples that you have taken in from men around you. If you had no men around you, then you're more likely to be a follower. You're more likely to go in with the crowd. You're more likely to be hesitant to speak up for yourself or to have any strength about your words, and you may hide these inadequacies behind a fake social media profile known as a troll or something like that, right? So you had real women that were influenced by the mass and hordes of these gender war banging bots that were only there to create an economy out of the gender war, right? Now I frame all that to say Melody, Melody, this is the type of person that Melody is. When she was Melody is a human being, but she's a human being that constructed a persona for TV, right? In her television persona, you can tell that she uses social media to gauge the climate of the environment to create a persona that is palatable to the masses, right? Now, at the time, what was palatable to the mass of women, which is her target audience or her target demographic, whatever. Mind you, this is not to say point out anything about her. This is just to say how this machine was created and how it's essentially turning on her and what my role is and what I'm going to be doing, right? She created her narrative, her persona, based on the climate at the time, which was gender war. So the idea of women's empowerment had to do with being very sociopathic towards men and being very dismissive, disregarding, and, you know, basically painting them as the narcissists and the abusers, and everybody go against them, and don't look at things holistically. Don't even try to figure out where it's going on. Because he's a man, he's automatically wrong. There is no other side to the story. That's why that was part of the narrative during the gender war. So she attracted multiple demographics of people. There are real millimeters who see themselves in her. They live similar lifestyles to her. They have similar upbringings, whether those upbringings were about being a socialite or being heavily into the church or being business women, right? These are the women that represent who Melody really is. These are the women that she shares the stage with, right? That she would walk next to, that she would associate herself with, the Dr. Shanita Fosters, right? Or the Queen Sheba Darlings, right? Because when somebody shares a stage with you, that is a symbol of their respect for you, right? She's not sharing a stage with people who are doxing, getting in lawsuits, calling the police, dragging people every day. Yeah, there's a use for you, but it's not her willing to associate her image with you as a representation of who she is. However, those people were attracted because of the gender war climate at the time. So she attracted two demographics of people. She attracted real people who relate to the human side of her, and she attracted a bunch of bots who were just people who were suffering, lonely, trauma bonding. A lot of them were created and fashioned after personas that were not real. They were just there to be angry, divisive, hateful, tear people's platforms down. And that's what they do. And then you had real people who hid those agendas behind this person's name, right? Now, where it gets sticky is that those people were effective in making the Mellometer brand look much bigger than it is. But I guarantee you that of all of what the Mellometer force is, only maybe 10%, if that, are actual supporters who are investing time, who are investing money, who are buying 7th Avenue. A lot of people that are banging for you, they're not actually supporting you. So it's important to keep a healthy perspective that even though Melody's items are selling out, It's just in accordance with how many units you have. If you have 50 units and you sell 50 units, then you're going to be sold out. It doesn't mean that you have 100,000 or you're doing 20 million in sales, right? So I say that to say that these people who are banging for Melody, they're not really rocking with her in terms of providing that real tangible capital support, which means that she cannot sustain herself on just the millimeters alone. She has to have the freedom to branch out and attract other opportunities to her, and she can't, because she's pigeonholed by this gender war banging social media bot narrative women that are just not even overzealous, because they're not doing it for Melody. They're doing it because they're against Martell, right? There's a huge difference. If you're doing it for Melody, then you're going to protect her and her brand in its entirety, and not just her plight against Martell, right? So now that's being stripped. Now they've come after the Melometer brand, right? The Melometer brand is different. What's represented in social media is different than what Melody actually stands for. But they're going to use the negativity bias, right, to demonstrate that this is what comes with Melody. This is a part of who Melody is, what Melody created. Melody didn't create that in any intention against others. She created that because she was producing a show and she was judging the social media climate at the time to get people involved, and because she was able to infuse a little bit of her own reality in that, it made it more believable. But you guys have to be able to separate the two, because it's very imperative, because Melody is going down. Y'all don't think that, because she puts on a strong face. She knows how to put her facade of happiness on, but trust me, it's distress, right? She's being confronted about the millimeters everywhere she goes. The cast is talking about them everywhere they go, and she's kind of stuck because she can't address a part of it without addressing the whole of it. She can't come out and say, hey, this is not what I'm for, without acting like she's turning her back on her core support and what their true intentions are, because some of the millimeters have real true intentions towards Melody. They really do. I've interacted with a lot of them in my channel. Really good people, really solid women, soulful women, intelligent women, wives. I was attracted to this space because there was a lot of wives here, and I'm preparing myself to get married. But then I got into it a little bit more, and I'm like, okay, this is gender banging. I didn't know I was in a gender banging territory, you know what I mean, until I'm starting to see the show, and now it's making sense to me. Oh, you were attracting gender bangers, right? Here's the thing. I'm here to take out the trash. I'm here to get rid of the Guttersnipes, because those are not millimeters. You guys think they're millimeters because they're banging hard. They're not. They're gender bangers who are parading under the millimeter moniker, but trying to get their hate, their misanthropy, their hate for society, their hate for men, their loneliness, their depression. They're trying to find a place to fit in with that. Right? They don't represent the truth of what it means to be a millimeter, right? So the conversation, what is a millimeter? It's a one-on-one conversation with me and a millimeter, and we're going to talk about it. Some of you guys are emailing me your questions. I'm going to ask your questions. What I wanted to do in today is to tell you guys what the intention of the conversation is, which is I'm here to take out the trash, and I've told you guys that. I see what's going on. For the most part, I'll stay in my lane, let people run their shit. You guys are coming into my shit, projecting the reason why you do what you do onto me. The reason why you would say something or feel something is not the reason why I'm saying or feeling something. I'm operating in a whole nother realm. But when you come into my space and you try to tear me down, and you're actually the one doing the tearing down, now I'm gonna have to stump a little pussy hoe and some shell toes, because I'm not going. And so what I'm gonna do as a favor to millimeters, because no real millimeter should have a problem with what I'm saying. You should be in complete agreement with what I'm saying. I'm taking out the trash. I'm getting rid of people who are not representing Black excellence and not representing the millimeter moniker. I'm diminishing their social media presence. as millimeters, and I'm elevating real sophistication and maturity. That's why I said, if you want to have a conversation with me, if you want to challenge my ideals, if you want to challenge the things that are coming out of my mouth, I welcome you to do so. But you have to do it with style, grace, sophistication, and class, like a real millimeter would. I'm not having no bloodbaths. I'm not talking to no ratchet assholes. Not gonna do it. Not gonna do it, right? Not to say I can't. I'm just not gonna do it, right? So that's the intention of that conversation. Like I said, please continue to email your questions if you have any. If you do want to collaborate, also hit me in an email for that. Anything goes when it comes to that. But yeah, like I said, I want to be clear in my objective. I'm taking out the trash. I'm getting rid of you gutter snipes, and real content is going to prevail. These social media bots, these people who are just trying to be divisive, hateful, angry, and hiding behind this person's name in order to do it, and now are costing this person opportunities, their reputation, and all that stuff, because they can't separate and understand and get real comprehensive about what's going on. That's just what it is. You know what I mean? Now, as far as the things that I'm revealing on the community wall, I know you guys are really confused about that. Here's the thing. Millimeters in public perception nationally, because this is going on the TV, this is going on radio views, you guys have lost your credibility because you're allowing the mob to prevail, right? Nobody's coming to you guys checking for the truth about what's going on in the situation. And what you're doing is leaving room for the opposition to paint a narrative that's more consistent with what people see nationally, right? Melody's a bully. Melody's this. She's got this army. She's calling our business. She's tearing us down. Blah, 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 blah. You go to social media, we're not looking to the millimeters to find the truth. We're looking to the people who have had negative experiences. Now, from my research, and listening to the ops and trying to understand what their issue is and why they're not Team Melody, is that a lot of them were turned off simply by the quote unquote millimeters. A lot of them don't have a problem with Melody herself, but because they're being attacked, because their platforms are being torn down, it makes you hate her. It makes you say, fuck that bitch. You know what I mean? Because you're expected to elevate her above yourself and what you're doing. And a lot of people are not going to be feeling that. Right? So it is the millimeters that are creating millimeter ops. It is not Melody's actions. It is not who she is as a person. It is not that she's so bad. It's none of that. It's that when people feel attacked on your behalf, they hate you for that. Right? So it's very important to neutralize the opposition, because they are going to have the prevailing narratives, because the millimeter moniker is being torn down on national platforms such as OWN and Love and Marriage Huntsville, right? The only way to neutralize the ops is to tell the truth and justify and validate the things that they are feeling and perceiving about Melody, and want to have the right to say and feel without being attacked. Right? They have a right to see and feel things differently. And if nobody's confirming that, because this digital army is mobbing against them, then they are going to keep pushing, not for the sake of the principle, but just to be rebellious and just to stand against what's being expected of them. None of this has to do with Melody, right? So it's important to validate what they're seeing. Yeah, I could see how she's doing this to the cast. I could see how she's doing this to Martell. Yeah, I could see that. But in addition, Melody is also a woman who came up and grew up like this way. So yeah, she has certain inclinations, right? That's the intention in being willing to voice those opinions out loud. It's not to paint a narrative and prove her to be a manipulator and make her the problem. Thinking like that is the reason why the gender war was around in the first place. So if you remember, that's when a lot of women who dared to think different were depicted as mammies. If you loved your son, you were called a mammy. If you gave birth to a boy, you were called a mammy. Cynthia G was there advocating for the abortion of black male babies. It was so hostile that women were afraid to admit that they loved their sons. The gender war wreaked havoc on the self-esteem of women who decided to be themselves, because there's pressure. It was like a get down or lay down mentality, but it was in the name of capitalism. It had nothing to do with reality and what was going on. If you were right brained at all or left brained, I don't know, y'all know I'll be talking fast. Feel what I'm saying. And that's another thing you guys do. Stop trying to, you guys can't whoop me intellectually. You can't. I'm so raw intellectually that I don't even have to worry about speaking perfectly. Period. I'm that good, right? Stop trying to perceive me with your brain. Feel me, because you can't whoop me like that. I'm sorry. I'm gonna hold that. You can't whoop me. But anyways, I say that to say, intuit. Use yourself, right? It was a time where women who were logically brained agreed with men because it was logical, and they were called pick-me's, mammies. You hate women, you're an enemy of women. And then the other women who were more group oriented, whether they agree or not, they're gonna go with the crowd because they can't stand to have things broken up, like things, people arguing. It gives them anxiety, so they rather keep the peace. You know what I mean? Even though they agree with some people who are considered mammies and pick-me's, they're not gonna speak up and say that because it threatens their internal, security. So all of you guys are flying monkeys for capitalists. Like, let's get really deep into it. You got to understand what's going on here. You know what I mean? You got to understand, and you got to return to yourself. COVID is over. The digital age is over. It's time to snap back in reality. Get up off your ass. Get up off your fat ass, your broke ass, your depressed ass, your anxious ass, and get back into self. That's really what's going on here. Get up, and go look in the mirror and ask yourself, if Melody looked like me, would I be a melometer? If Melody's life was what my life is, my real life is, would I be a melometer? Ask yourself that, because there's so many things at play. There's pretty privilege. There's light skin privilege. There's a lot of things that are the reason why you are quick to adopt what she was selling, because it was a marketing thing. She was selling an image, and there's nothing wrong with that. We need black capitalists. It's sad that some of us has to resort to using our own people for that, but at the same time, we do need people who have the bag, who can reach people in mass and be influential. But I want you to think about yourself in the process and ask yourself, really go look in the mirror in all of your glory. Take off your clothes and look at yourself and say, if Melody were me, would I be a melometer? Would I go this hard? And if so, then go that hard for yourself. Put that energy into yourself. Start alchemizing your energy. Start changing. Start embodying the same qualities of the woman that you're going so hard for. I want to see you do it. You know what I mean? And you guys really have to make that shift, because you're going down. You guys are dying. You guys are getting sick. You guys are lonely, depressed. It's over for that. It's time to dead that shit. You know what I mean? Excuse my passion, but I've watched this shit from inception to the height of it, and now I'm watching the dead bodies hitting the floor. You know what I mean? And it's really sad. It's really, really sad, right? So I encourage you, open your minds. Watch your surroundings, pay attention, read the climate, understand what's really happening, right? One-on-one, what is a melometer? Conversation coming soon. Smash that like button. Visit me on the Inner Alchemist at Etsy. My job is to transfer energy. My job is to transmute energy. I'm sorry. And I'm cleaning it up. I'm taking out the trash on behalf of Melody, of what she can't say. Right? Because like I said, she doesn't have enough room to be able to say things to you guys in a transparent way. Right? We're trying to create that room for her. I'm going to say it for her. Because her biggest downfall right now is not being able to say what they're doing in social media is not what a melometer is and what I stand for. What she's saying is, it is what it is. Because she doesn't want to risk misconstruing things for people who actually love and support her because she has to defend against people who don't, right? So I'm getting you gutter snipes out of here. Mm-hmm. And that's where I'm at with it. Let me know what you think about this video. Like, subscribe, go to the Inner Alchemist, make a purchase, check me out, pass the information along. Yeah, and guess what? I'll see you on the next video where we will be doing a tarot reading on Miss Melody Cherie, and let's see what is really going on. All right, talk to you guys soon. Bye.